So I had a football player that I work with ask me why we use Tendo units and velocity-based training with our training when we're in spring ball and in season. He said he feels like he doesn't get as much out of the training because he feels like he can go heavier, and when we're using the speed to dictate the load on the bar, he just doesn't feel like he's getting as much out of it. I would assume there's a lot of other people who feel the same way, especially those of you who like to lift heavy and like to grind out a lot of reps. I naturally have that same type of personality. I always like to see if I can push myself harder and harder, but sometimes that's not the best thing to do, especially if you're an athlete and especially if you're in season. So I figured it'd be a good idea to address this question in a video, and hopefully it reaches as many people out there as it can. But before I give the answer, please make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share this video on social media for me. It does me a great service. Thank you so much. And I would say the most important, the number one reason is auto-regulation. So if you're playing a sport, you have to remember that that's the most important thing. We need to put all, or if not all, but most of our energy and resources into our sport. So we don't want our weight room training to rob us from our resources that should be put forth towards the sport. So that's why we should use velocity-based training. So quickly, let's just go over a few details about it. So when we're doing barbell training, let's just say a back squat, the faster the rep is, the lighter the relative load is. And the slower the rep is, the heavier the relative load is. And when we perform too many reps at slower speeds, so heavier loads, it may cause more fatigue than necessary, especially if you're in season and in a critical point of the season. And with that being said, our maximum strength measured in a 1 rep max can fluctuate up to 20% heavier or lower on any given day. So if your program is calling for you to hit 80% for a set of 3, that 80% might actually not be 80% if you didn't recover well, didn't sleep well, had poor nutrition habits for that day, and so on. And if that's the case, you're in a position to potentially be overtrained. Using velocity-based training, if you put 80% on the bar and you move it a lot slower than 80% should move, then you know you can adjust your load for the day. So for that reason of auto-regulation, that's my primary reason for why you should use velocity-based training. And obviously there's other reasons too. It gives you instantaneous feedback, and my previous video was on the importance of feedback. There's also the idea that training at certain speeds trains certain physical qualities. For example, if you're looking to train absolute strength, you want to hit around 0.3 meters per second, and it's going to change depending on the source. If you're looking to train accelerative strength, you're going to want to be around 0.6 to 0.75 meters per second. And if you don't have access to any sort of velocity-based training technology, you can always just use the RPE scale. RPE just means rating of perceived exertion. It's a subjective measurement with the scale typically for weightlifting between 1 through 10, 10 being maximally hard, 1 being really easy like a warm-up set. And once someone becomes competent and consistent with their RPE ratings, it has shown to be a reliable measure. Reliable on answering questions of exertion, velocity, and difficulty. Anyways, we could go over a lot more details with RPE and velocity-based training, but I'll leave it at that. If you got any questions, shoot me an email or shoot me a message on Instagram. Thanks and have a great day.